So Wookie, did you have a plan for this week? You seem to have like some kind of idea for a cold open.
Yeah, I can do a cold open. I have many ideas. I have many ideas for cold opens. I'm constantly thinking of cold opens. I had ideas for this cold open before I had ideas for today's topic.
Are you a fridge man?
Am I?
Because you're always coming up with cold things. That was bad.
That's terrible. That's awful. No,
Wookie, the fridge man, tickets and sparks.
I mean, I guess that's now the cold open, but sure. We gotta stop. We gotta stop doing such meta cold opens. This doesn't work. One day we're gonna have to do a real cold open and not just discuss making a cold open and then just play the theme tune and then the theme tune ends.
Welcome back, everybody, to a little show we like to do here at the weekends, or as you call it, Wednesday. It's, of course, Boi Review.
Boi.
With me, Hamish.
And me, Wilkie.
Yeah, Wilkie, the cold boy.
So yeah, here we are. We're back. Episode 2 of Season 2 of Boi Review. That's a palindrome.
It is. I was just trying to think, is it a palindrome? And I don't even need to verify it is a palindrome. I'm confident that Boi Review Season 2, you can say it one way, you can say it the other way. Try it at home, ladies and gentlemen. We challenge you. That's your challenge for the week.
When I have to type something out to see what it looks like, I will often type out in the form of either a text message to one of my dear friends or maybe even a tweet. So go ahead and, don't bother with the Notes app. Just go ahead and write in a tweet, Boi Review Season 2. If you also add our Anchor link or maybe our Spotify link, that's also a palindrome. I checked. So just type it out to make sure that it really is a palindrome. And then...
And I heard that Twitter introduced a new feature where if you send a tweet out, so you hit the tweet button...
Yeah.
It will then tell you if it's a palindrome.
Yeah, it's like that bot that we have on our Discord server that tells you when you do a haiku.
I love it when it also we also have a second bot that tells us when your girlfriend tweets, which I think is very, very funny and very cute.
So this week it's my girlfriend's turn to get a shout out. Hi, Jade. So I've got the Me6 bot on our friends' Discords, our Discord server for just us group of friends. Without paying, I can only set it up to watch one Twitter account. I did have it set up to Amy's Twitter account, but she stopped tweeting because she didn't want anyone in the group to see what she was tweeting. So then I switched it over to Jade, and now we see whenever Jade tweets, and it's often very wholesome content.
It's very cute. Sometimes it's about you, and it's extra nice.
It is sometimes about me, which then makes me regret having linked it up.
Well, one thing we won't regret, Walkie, is starting our first topic, because we're already getting off track. So
yeah, that's become a theme.
Get on with what is your thing for this week?
Yes, I get to go first this week. Very exciting. I would like to bring this week something a lot more normal, because I know last week I got a bit zany with it.
I liked it a lot, Wilkie.
It was good.
And a lot of our listeners loved it.
It was a good topic, but it was a little bit unusual, perhaps a little bit too unusual. So this week I'd like to go for something that's fairly mainstream. I'm probably going to talk about a few different YouTubers over the course of this season, but today I'd like to talk about the YouTube channel How Ridiculous. It's a YouTube channel where essentially they do... Wikipedia describes it as trick shots. They were actually... hang on, I've already become sidetracked. I became sidetracked while researching this, getting the official... dates and stuff. How Ridiculous and Dude Perfect both launched on YouTube in the same year, and that's very suspicious to me because they both just do trick shots. But how ridiculous is
They don't like drum up competition, so one of them's going to like do something, then the other upset, and they keep sort of like pushing themselves. It's a duopoly.
Yeah, it's a scam.
It's all faked.
Yeah, it's all CGI. So how ridiculous? They're Australian. It's three guys from Australia: Brett Stanford, Derek Heron, and Scott Gaunson. They often just call each other by their surnames. All right, Gaunson, and it's
a very good accent there. Okay.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's I won't. I've been told recently that my attempt at a New Zealand accent came sounding like a South African accent. So I'm just gonna go and work on that in private for a bit. But this is honestly, I know this is sort of very, very me. This is, you could have predicted this, but it's just a very wholesome YouTube channel. These three guys, they have access to a place called, I think it's just called Gingin, Gingin, Gingin. It's a small town in Western Australia, which contains the Gravity Discovery Centre, which is just a hands-on science place. So it's like a functioning laboratory where they do experiments with gravity, but also like you can go and watch them do these experiments, and like there's like school trips and stuff. And the main thing that the Gravity Discovery Centre has is they have this 45-metre tall leaning tower. So every floor is slightly offset, so that once you get to the top, you are over open air, 45 metres above this giant sand, not like a sand pit, but like the floor is sand.
Sounds awful. I hate heights. Just can't stand it. I went on a trip to France once with some, I think it was a school trip actually, and we went up the Eiffel Tower, and I thought, yeah, I can kind of do it. And then they were like, okay, now we're going to go up to the very, very top of it. So this was sort of like the base where the 4 points properly meet.
Yeah.
And then this was when it was going to start going up. And we went way to the top, and I just stood by the elevator for the entire hour we were up there because I hated it. I would not go near the window. You could not have paid me to go any further away than just right next to the exit.
How old were you? Did you mention?
15. I'm just
fair.
Terrified of heights. I still wouldn't do it.
No, that's fair. I was just thinking of the idea of how much money would you have to offer a child of that age? Because you couldn't have paid, if you're our age at this point, it's like, oh, you couldn't have paid me £1,000. But I show you a fiver, and it's like, whoa, £5.
Actually, as well, then when we went down, it was just like one of the teachers was like, okay, are you going to be okay to walk down? Because they had this idea that rather than using the lift down, they wanted to there's a walkway, and I thought it would be down one of the legs, and it did eventually go down one of the legs, but to get there you kind of go down near the middle of one of the platforms, so for a bit you're just you're on a walkway that's just nothing below you until you see the ground.
You're just over empty space.
And I just looked,
that's not fun,
went fuck this, or went back up, and I said, I'm sorry miss, can we please go a different way down? And she was
S'il
like,
vous plaît, mademoiselle, je voudrais take the lift, please.
It was very, very, very frightening for me.
Well, the good news is, Hambo, at the Gravity Discovery Centre in Gingin, Australia, you don't have to go up the tower.
Gingin. Gingin's just such a good name.
It's a good name for a place. The scientists are the ones who go up the tower, and they drop things. There's a big winch with a it's very cool actually. There's a little system where you can release it without putting any force into the thing. So you pull a rope and it pulls out a pin, but it doesn't make it wobble back and forth. So once you've got it hanging where you want it, you just pull it out and it falls. And these guys, Stanford, Heron, and Gaunson, literally once or twice a week just drop shit off a 45-metre tower onto other shit. And it's really good content. So I've got them here. Their video titles are slightly formulaic because it's always something versus something from 45-metre tower, or from 45 metres, or can something break into something. That sort of thing. So the last few videos were Giant Axe Blade versus Fridge, Hulk Fist versus Bulletproof Glass, Can Hulk's Fist break into a bank safe, world's heaviest Hulk fist. That's the thing as well. They like to sort of set records. So this Hulk fist is like this giant 3D printed steel Hulk fist, and they spray painted it green and they just drop it on stuff. It weighs 660 pounds, which I should have converted.
How much is that in
660 lbs.
Can't work. We do metric on Boy Review. You know this.
300 kilograms.
That's a lot of kilograms.
That's just slightly more than 3 Wilkies.
There's a Yo Mama joke in that.
In there
but
somewhere,
I decided not to make it, because I like both of our mothers.
Yeah. So there's a few talking points I want to hit. Essentially, I see something of ourselves.
That's not very nice to hit things, Wilkie.
Sorry?
It's not very nice to hit things. Play nice.
I hate you. You're the worst. Why do I do a podcast with you? All you do is irritate me. So, as I was saying, I see something of these three in ourselves, or I see something of ourselves in these three guys, even though they're 28 and 32 and 32 respectively. I don't just know that, I have the Wikipedia open.
Their combined age is identical to ours, in fairness. Again, don't check it. No, don't fact check this audience.
Don't fact check the maths. We are maths years old. So on this show, Hambo, we like to do bits, don't we? We've had a few good bits in the past. Of course, the studio where we're currently recording this show was funded by the Raw Diamond heist, which we eventually pulled off.
Exactly. It was able to get 2 very nice whole houses.
Yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, we've had our fair share of bits, and I'd like to go through what I think is a full list of all the bits they have. So we're going to start off with what they call the contest, the comment contest. Essentially, they will just ask a random question. The most recent one, or one of the most recent, they dropped, I think, Australia's biggest pumpkin. I don't know how they verified that. Biggest pumpkin in Australia. They dropped it onto a giant axe blade and cut it in half. It was very cool. The contest for that episode was to guess how heavy the pumpkin was. And if you are the first person to get the answer right, they pin your comment and you get stuck to the top. And you're like, look, you win the contest. And the format of that bit goes, they will ask the question, and then one of them will do a bit to camera, and they'll say, and if you get it right, and then you cut to one of their fans saying, we'll pin ya. And it's very cute because you get to, it's often like small children or like large groups of people who are all going, we'll pin ya. And it's very cute. They just like get their audience involved. A lot of these are going to involve like audience engagement, which is very, very wholesome, I think. Like you get to...
That sounds really cute.
Yeah. Linking into the contest, one of the first contests they ever did was they had to... The contest was to guess Scott Gornson's favourite number. Often they are just random like that, or like what was it? In one episode, I think it was Gornson again was wearing one of their like sweaters, but it was a very hot day, and they were like, the contest is at what time today will Gornson take off his sweater? And there's a point in the video where he's no longer wearing the sweater, but you can't tell what time of day it is, and they had to get it to the minute, and someone did just randomly. But in this one where they asked what's Scott's favourite number, the answer was 44. And so there was a comment at the top pinned that just said 44. And everyone underneath it was just 44, 44, 44, just replying to the comment, just saying 44. And so the 44 Club was born. Essentially, it's just fans of How Ridiculous. They're called the 44 Club. And they've got a whole video explaining that. And again, it's just like this whole atmosphere of like, everyone is involved, everyone is engaged just by like watching the video. They like point at the camera, 44 Club, there you are. You're a member just because you've watched the video. That's very cute. Now, they've got a couple more.
Are there any bad things about them? These people sound pretty perfect. There's got to be some sort of... They've got to have some skeletons in the closet. They've got to have...
It's funny you mentioned skeletons, Hamish. Another...
Oh no, they haven't killed somebody.
Yeah, they
used to be 4 members of the group.
They dropped an... They used to be 4.
Max versus the human head.
They dropped an anvil on him.
Squashed him.
They all stood in a tight circle and dropped an anvil, and just one of them got crushed. Bad luck.
Do they do... Okay, you talk about the skeleton, and then I have another question, which I'll ask in a minute.
Okay, well, they haven't exactly killed a human, but they have a stuffed Tyrannosaurus Rex called Rexy that they regularly just obliterate.
Oh, no.
So
does Rexy... How do they just have more Rexies?
No, they fix him every time. He's half stitching at this point. The one where they dropped an Atlas stone, which is just a big spherical ball of concrete, onto some other pumpkins that weren't quite the biggest. But they put Rexy on top of the pile, so when they lift the Atlas stone back up with a winch, Rexy's just like a flat little pancake, and they just like squish him back into shape, put all his stuffing back in, and he's good to go. And
it's really sad.
But it's really sweet because
start a petition to save him.
They're always very like supportive, like, "Oh, Rexy, mate, he's a beauty." Like that's a London accent, but like they're always like, "Hell, like Rexy survived. What a champion!"
And then the other question I have, Wookie, is so far you've talked about how they drop things on other things.
They do, yes.
None of these sound like trick shots. I feel like this is just...
Okay, yes.
You have a very tall tower.
They do. They have done trick shots before. They have actually a few world records to their name. Derek Heron, holds the world record for, I think, the longest, like the basketball shot. I assume successful basketball shot from...
You can just yeet a basketball as far as you can.
Just throw it really far.
That sounds like that's a boy review sort of.
That's the sort of thing we would do. We should do boy review video content once we're allowed to be near each other again. But yeah,
we should do that.
Longest basketball shot in 2018. The distance was 201 meters.
That's quite a long way. How
he dropped it off a dam.
The
dry side of a dam wall. They put a basketball hoop at the bottom, and he dropped the ball, and it went in.
Did they do one where they went? Was it a different trick shot channel where they went to like Africa and they dropped it off a really high cliff?
That may well have been them. Oh, hang on. No, you're right. No, that's them. No, that's the Maletsanyane Falls in Lesotho.
That was quite recent, so maybe that hasn't updated yet.
It's in Lesotho. Yeah. No, I just looked. That was at a at a waterfall in Lesotho. They did another video at a dam that I was thinking of. Also, Brett Stanford has the world record for the world's longest golf putt, which is 120 meters.
Is that off a dam or something like that?
I think that was also
again,
off a dam,
it feels like cheating.
It's not cheating.
It feels like cheating.
No, look, just because you didn't go to... It's like people who say I could do a Jackson Pollock painting. Yeah, you could, but you didn't. Like, Hambo, I'm sure you could go to a dam and hit a golf ball, but you haven't yet.
But I haven't.
You haven't yet, and these guys have. Therefore, they hold the record.
Well, Wookie, that's why I'm announcing the Boy Review GoFundMe to pay Hamish to go to a dam.
Go to a dam and hit a golf ball. You got to putt it, though, otherwise it doesn't count.
Just got a nice, gentle putt into the hole.
I know, you hit it really hard just with a putter. What makes a putter putt, Hamish? I'm using too many letter P's to not have a pop filter.
Oh, it's okay. I'll say I'll fix it in post. I think part of the problem is a pop filter exists because it's one of the few things you can't fix in post.
Yeah.
I think what makes a putt is that you have to put only a minimal amount of effort in, and then it becomes like a put over a long period of time sounds more like a putt, and that's what makes it a putt. So you've got to sort of like you've got to put a little bit of force in, and you've got to make sure you hit the ball for a really long time, and then you release it off, and that's what makes it a putt.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
That, or if you do a handstand, your butt becomes a putt because it's upside down.
Okay, we're going to move on to
a P looks like an upside down B.
The final thing that I'd like to talk about, which is since the beginning of 2020. The beginning of every video, so about once or twice a week, they have been doing what in Australia is called a rock-off.
Wookie, if you want to talk about some guys rocking off on the internet, I don't think that the Boy Reviews the show to do that.
It's what Australians call rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
And they've been keeping a running score of who wins. And Brett has been doing terribly. He hasn't won in a few months, and it's very funny. I think he's on 8 victories, and the other 2 are both on double digits at least, like 16 and 15 or something. So yeah, how ridiculous. The upshot of all of this, it's fun to watch. They're very excited all the time, very high energy, lots of great camaraderie between the 3 of them. And it's good content. The one thing I would say, you said, was there anything bad about them? And I sort of turned it into continuing my whole thing. Like I mentioned, it's kind of formulaic. Like, when you watch one of their videos, it's either going to be like a special video that maybe is like with a tie-in with a sponsorship, or they've been planning like it's like a distinctly different video, or they're going to be dropping shit off this tower. And like, it's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting, and sometimes it's cool stuff, like dropping an entire car onto a giant axe blade. Like, that's cool, but
it's expected. You want to feel a little bit like, oh, what's it going to be this week?
Yeah. So yeah, the sort of formulaicness, and I can't shake this like concern that it's all fake. Like with some YouTube channels, I genuinely can't think of an example right now, but like it's all put on for views, and there's like 10 ad breaks, and like it's all clickbait. Like, they do what they say they do, and it's not clickbait, but because I've sort of been taught to be wary of the internet and to be wary of clickbait, there's this fair. Like concern that like, oh, these guys don't really care. Like, this is all like funny scripted jokes for views.
True. I mean, to be fair, some of this stuff though, scripting it's almost harder than it being just 3 mates having some fun. But I can definitely see.
Oh yeah, I don't believe it, but yeah, it's a concern that I can't shake because it's that sort of genre.
Yeah. So,
all in all, I think I want to set myself a higher standard, and I think because these
it's a new season,
new season, new Wilkie. I gave a good bad last week, which is the worst rating I've ever given anything. I'm going to give these guys a bad good, a 3 out of 4. They've found a niche, and they perform it admirably. I would like to see a bit more variety from them. So, the 3 of you, I know you're listening.
Get on that.
More content, please. Although I am very excited because there's a YouTuber called Alex Steele who was at one point the UK's youngest professional blacksmith. He's obviously older now. But for the past few weeks, he's been making a giant sword, which he has revealed is for How Ridiculous to then drop on things.
That's really cool.
So it's going to be it's like a great sword, but I imagine they're going to drop it like a spear. It's also like 12 feet long. It's incredible. So I'm excited for that to happen.
See, I came across How Ridiculous because of a Mark Rober video where he made them a giant trampoline, and I thought that was really, really cool. So How Ridiculous, I don't watch them frequently, but I have seen some of the stuff, and I quite liked it. But one thing...
Yes, it's very algorithm friendly.
Yeah, it seems like just sort of good quality, family-friendly content. Though one thing that I do frequently, because I don't watch them frequently, that I would like to talk about this week, because I've teased a topic which would normally be my topic, but I'm going to save that as a joint one, because we didn't discuss what our joint one would be before the show.
Oh, we didn't, yeah.
And so I'm going to talk about something that's just for me, something that I just have spent like the last 4 hours doing, and that is driving.
Oh, you're alienating me, Hambo. You know I can't drive.
Well, I think it would be interesting to talk about that as well, because
I can provide the passenger's perspective.
Right. Because I have a car. I've been able to drive since the summer after I turned 17. I passed just before I went back to school for upper sixth. And I would say that I think for me, driving is the single most useful skill that I have, because particularly where I live, Wilkie, is in the middle of the countryside. There is no consistent public transport. To be honest, by the time that the bus would show up, by the time I would get to my nearest bus stop, the bus would show up and I would get to wherever I need to go and then walk to see my friend. I could have just walked the whole distance. easily in that time. And so, but also more often than not, I couldn't really walk because I'm in so much in the countryside, there aren't like lanes I can follow. It's just trek through that field, or if you can get a friend to pick you up, do that, or more often than not, my mum would drive me. And so I felt like I'd had to rely on my parents for lifts well into sort of past a point where it was cool to be dropped off somewhere by your parents.
Oh yeah, that's that point comes rather early.
Right. So
that point comes when the first person in your social circle learns to drive. Once one of you can drive, it's then
not cool to be dropped off by a parent.
They start turning up in their car. It's no longer cool for anyone else to get dropped off by parents.
Right. And it's also the other issue of where I went to school is I was lucky enough to go to quite a nice school, but it was also free to attend, and it was quite a bit better than some of the paid schools in the area. So people would come from quite a long distance away to attend this school because it was better and cheaper than their other options. So people would come like from a whole county over sometimes. So some of my mates that I'm still very close with, it's a best part of half an hour, 45 minutes to go and drive to where they live.
Yeah, it's the same for me. My best mate in primary school is like, an hour's bus journey away. Fairly similar to drive because it's just distance.
And again, it's just not easy to go and hang out with those people. So when I finally did learn to drive, it made it infinitely better and easier to hang out with these people in a proper way. You know, I could go, particularly as well, I came to be 18, so I meant I could drive to a party, have a great night, sleep over, wake up in the morning, continue to rest a hangover, and when I was definitely safe to drive, leave and go home. You know, so one of my best experiences was right after we finished school, my friend owned a field, because of course he did. His family were farmers, of course he had a field he could just use.
Okay, that was the piece of context we were missing.
He invited us all to come over. We did. We put up tents. We had a great laugh. We drank late into the evening. Some of us went to bed, like myself, and some of us, also like myself, who had turned up a bit late because we had a rehearsal for the school play just before.
Oh, that's such a vibe.
We were just like, well, we haven't had time to pitch a tent. I'm just going to sleep in my car. I'm too drunk to work that out right now. So I did that. Put the seat back. It was really nice. Woke up in the morning, could see in my rear view mirror, there was a semicircle of chairs sat around what had been sort of a barbecue that had been smouldering into the evening, and people had been sat around it. It was very cute. I just, like 8 o'clock in the morning, I just see sat there this guy passed out with a duvet over the top of him, and it's just like, is he okay? Get out, poke him awake. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm all good. And I was like, do you want me to help you to bed? And he was like, yes, thank you. And so I just escorted this guy to what I assumed was his tent. He kind of pointed in a direction and there was only one tent that way, so I hoped it was right. Very funny. He nearly trod in some sick, to want to use a better word, I can't think of one. And he was a bit disgusted by it and led him to his tent. Anyway, learnt later that was his vomit. He'd done
so
it the night and
wasn't
forgotten.
Perhaps disgust, more regret, a
painful
reminder.
But yeah, because he's quite a big lad, played a lot of rugby and was well over 6 foot tall, and my scrawnier friends just couldn't quite lift him out of his seat, and they thought rather than try and drag him through the mud, they just put his duvet over him and leave him there.
Put some faith in his, rugby player's vitality and hope that he could survive a night unprotected from the elements.
Exactly, and he did fine, but sort of the two elements of that story that made it better was A, that I was asleep in my car and I saw him on my rear view mirror, just sort of getting out of my tent and seeing it wouldn't have been quite as nice. And then also in the morning, it meant that I could drive home and I didn't have to worry about all the embarrassment of my parents coming to pick me up and all of that. And my third fun driving story, actually, is that I accidentally took a wrong turn very early on in this journey. And I started to see sign for Wales. So I got in Welsh, because when you get near the border, they do 2 languages, and my friends did not let me live it down that I drove to Wales instead of driving home.
By accident.
It's literally in the opposite direction.
Whoopsie.
But
instructions unclear. Went to Wales.
it's just such a good experience, and yeah, it really gives me a lot of freedom. I mean, today it's meant that I can drive down with Izzy because I'm now able to basically bubble up with her family because I'm a solo person, all on my lonesome. So I can sort of come here and stay with her, which is nice.
Really advertising the fact that your house is empty, Hambo.
Don't worry, it's very much security systemed up. And also no one knows where I live.
Hopefully. Speaking of security systems, this week's episode is sponsored by
nobody.
Simply Safe, Ring, Wi-Fi
doorbells.
Wi-Fi doorbell number 3. That's the 2, isn't it? It's Simply Safe and Ring.
Yeah, I know of Ring, but yeah, it's just a good driving is just really good. But Wilkie, I also find it interesting when I meet people that don't drive, because I feel like there's often a reason that people don't. So I was wondering is there a particular reason you don't have a driving license?
Mostly I find that I can get by with public transport. From an environmental standpoint. When I can use public transport, I'd prefer that to driving. I was lucky to be able to reach my school for secondary school by public transport fairly easily. So I had a bus pass. If I had to go into town, it was just the same bus. If I wanted to go on the weekend, if I wanted to, summer holidays, I could just handle myself getting through town. I was introduced to public transport fairly early in my life, so I was fairly comfortable just getting on buses. Again, like I said, if I had to go all the way out to where my friend Oscar lives, that's just a bus. I knew what bus I had to get. I knew when it came. I could just get on the bus. When I started at university, that was when it became kind of awkward. Because obviously I can get to uni by bus, but it's the 6 times a year that my parents, either one or both of them, have to come and pick me up, pack up the car full of stuff, and then drive me back, which is, for them, a 6 or 7 hour round trip. That's when I started thinking, like, maybe I should learn to drive, because it's only 6 times a year, which on balance isn't a lot, but it's often a bit awkward trying to arrange when that can happen, because it has to fit around my parents' work schedules. They both work, so it pretty much has to be a weekend. I have to sort of be the one that bends and says, okay, we'll do it this time because that's when it's okay for you. So I'm sort of slowly realizing, perhaps what I should have realized a while ago, that it's kind of inconvenient at this point now that I can't drive. So I probably will learn to drive soon. Ideally, once this pandemic is over. I don't want to sort of risk being in a car with an instructor right now. Jade,
the 2 of you next to each other.
Has offered to teach me how to drive because she's had her license for long enough that she's now able to. Because you don't have to be taught how to drive, which is weird to me. Like,
you just have to pass a test.
Yeah. So if, technically, you could just walk up and do a test.
Yes.
The lessons are to prepare. The lessons are not in any way graded.
Well, see,
it's just the test. I know, but so anyone can teach you to drive.
True. The main thing I would say though, as someone that's learnt to drive, is I realised recently the 2 main advantages of someone teaching you to drive is firstly they teach you how to pass the test, because I realised recently it's just I would not pass my test. I do so many things that are just how they are done. I just sort of flick my eyes over to my mirrors where actually you're meant to turn over. I there was something else. It was just I think I also do frequently. Sometimes I block a passageway on occasion where maybe I shouldn't have done that. That's what actually happened recently. I blocked someone. I thought, I shouldn't have parked there. I would have failed my test just then. I thought, that's a 5-year-old problem. I don't need to worry.
Yeah.
But the other advantage of doing the testing is particularly learn to drive where you are taking your test, because the driving instructor will know where you need to drive. Because basically, again, I drove near where I did my test recently, and I realised, I've driven down every single one of these streets, and I've driven probably everywhere you can get to within half an hour of that place that is an interesting, in inverted commas, place to drive. Because my driving instructor probably knew fairly confidently that I would go along one of these routes during my test, because this is what they want to see is, can you do this weird roundabout that has all these different lanes and all these different traffic light systems? Can you navigate from here to there when there's such an awkward one-way system for a good section of it? And all this other stuff, can you sort of deduce what the speed limit is, even though there's like one sign right at the beginning, sure, but then it feels like it should be much faster, but actually it's only a 30 mile an hour speed limit on this certain section of road. And it's very helpful, but yeah. Yeah,
I would obviously not. I'm not advocating for people to learn to drive just willy-nilly. Obviously, I would get a professional, but obviously it's useful to have someone who can help.
Yeah, no.
Because if I wanted to practice, I'd feel a lot safer, like having someone who knows what they're doing next to me, who isn't
driving with a partner or a parent could be good.
Yeah. So what do you think about driving, Hambo?
I quite enjoy it. Obviously, it has all those positive things, but then today, it was a very, very long journey, particularly because of a lot of traffic. Where Izzy is, it's very awkward because it's effectively a dog leg. You've got to go really near London and then out again. It's the same by trains as well. So it's not the best in the world. And it's just, and I also just sort of miss getting, I used to find driving quite relaxing, but since going to uni, I do find it much more of a chore. I don't get to drive for fun anymore. Particularly as well is that I have to pay for all my own fuel and all of that stuff. As I've got older, when I was at school, my parents paid for some of it because I didn't have a job. I did have a job at school. I was unemployed for a section of it, but actually by the time I was able to drive, I actually got a job again. But still, my parents supported me, and I think that it's it's non-expensive. My car's older; it guzzles petrol like nobody's business. But I do still kind of enjoy it. But there are negatives. I do prefer public transport now. I miss. The thing that I've missed most about the pandemic, really odd, is that half an hour at least each day where I just get to sit on the bus and just listen to a show, maybe this one, some other podcast.
Yeah, we talked about podcasts last week. I'm really missing, half an hour, 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
Just, I can get through 2 podcasts in a day, and I never run out. I've missed that.
Whereas now I just have so many podcasts filling up my feed and I don't have time to fix it.
Yeah, I've started going on really long walks every day to make up enough time to catch up with everything.
I probably should do that. But yeah, I think, and also it's got all this environmentally unfriendly issues. So I think that I'm going to give driving a good bad. There's lots of good things about being able to drive, particularly right now. I feel like in many ways it's an even more essential skill. Izzy and I were able to come up here pretty safely because we didn't have to interact with anybody. We were able to get fuel, contactless and all that stuff. We didn't have to take public transport. But in general, I think it's got all these bad elements. And I'm going to give it that. But I do also look fondly on driving.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Before we get into our final topic, we've got a special little announcement of a thing we'd like to start. We will be advertising these on Instagram as well. But we want to say thank you to people that are listening to this show. And more importantly, we want to say thank you to people that aren't yet listening, but you at home think should. So, if you have a friend, a relative, heck, even a business, we joked about not doing free advertising, but so be it if we have to. If you have somebody that you want us to give a shout out to on this show, tell us who they are through Instagram. We will put up, we'll work out where. It might be an Instagram story, it might be you can DM us. There's a lot of ways we can do it. Maybe we'll create like an email address you can send. Just go to Instagram, The Boi Review, and you'll find out more. But tell us who they are. Give us, a short thing you'd like us to state. probably no more than 100 words. We want it to be a quick, snappy, like a, hey, friend, isn't it cool that these cool podcasters are talking about you? Yeah, that's right.
Like
Thanks
a
for
happy
listening to the
birthday
show.
message or like a congratulation for a recent life event. I proposed calling this the Good Gang.
The Good Gang is very good. So we'll keep a hammer of sort of decision making.
Yep, the gavel.
That's canon. I always thought it was gabble.
Gabble.
Gibble, gabble, the Pokemon. But yes, so give them a shout out and we'll talk about them on the show. And actually, they didn't do this beforehand, but I wanted to shout out to our biggest fan so far, and that is, of course, Megan. She's been loving the show.
Super fan.
She's been listening with her boyfriend, and it's lovely to see all the kind, positive comments. She's a bigger fan than either of our partners. She's just giving all the love Boy Reviews way, and we want to say thank you, Megan.
4 or 5 Instagram stories just telling people to listen to our show.
She's the best. So
Megan gets a good.
Good. Exactly.
Because we're recording with videos, so when we each give a thumbs up, it's like the good. It's the good symbol. 2 thumbs up.
Right. My favorite. I never want this show to be video, because I like that there's a whole other half to it that no one ever gets to see, because it's just you and I do a lot of hand motions. I got told off as well when we did the tavern together, because I always used to like do actions, and it's like no one can see.
It's like,
you
sure,
Hambo.
like you can wave at the person, but just say out loud that you're waving as well as just doing it, because the microphone can't hear that.
It might pick up the rustling of my hand on the air particles.
Oh, it's got such a good foam cup thing though. Nothing's getting through there.
Well, if I wanted something to pick up me doing the hand waving, I might have to create an invention.
Okay.
And if I wanted to make an invention...
That's the path we're taking to get to the bit.
There are 2 great boys, in fairness, that I'd need to talk to. And that is, of course,
the Wright
the
brothers.
people that know best... Not the Wright brothers.
But they invented planes.
Or the Warner brothers. Or any of the Mario brothers. None of the brothers. I'm of course actually these are brothers. What? Oh, I've messed it up, Wilkie.
I'm sorry, no, I distracted you. Go again.
It's Phineas and Ferb. They spend their summer holidays the most effective way they possibly could. Phineas and Ferb are the siblings, the people, the gods that everyone wishes they were. Everyone wishes they could be, because it's just like those 2 people get stuff done.
Yeah. We were
they
Phineas
make a
and
decision
Ferb briefly.
and they just do it. We were Phineas and Ferb for Halloween, and not Halloween, a party. I forget why. My hair was orange. Your hair was green. I painted a t-shirt. It was.
Yep, I was Ferb. You were Phineas,
and I really enjoyed it. We didn't have a Perry, but
we did vaguely have a Candace.
I guess, though, to be fair, not having a Perry was then, let us say the line, but where's Perry? We could just imagine him fighting off
Where's Perry?
Heinz Doofenshmirtz. But I wanted to talk about Phineas and Ferb for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it's a great show.
It is. It's a great show.
Secondly, because I've been getting back into it. It's on Disney+, and even better, there's been the film. A new film came out just days ago. Have you seen it, Wilkie?
I haven't seen it. I'm very aware of it, but I will get into why in a moment, because I feel like you're
Candace
on a roll.
Against the Universe. It's the perfect Phineas and Ferb film. For so many ways. Firstly, it just captures what the show is about. In terms of, it has the brothers and their cast of friends at this point. It's weird going back and starting from the beginning, because I'm still quite early on rewatching it. Just like how long it takes them to build up to like the regular group of 5 for Phineas, Isabella, Baljeet, and Buford. Like the other 3 being sort of like their friends that tag along for most adventures. And those are the main 5 kids. You've also got Candace, who always tries to bust them.
And it never quite works. The mum always gets there, right after
just a little too late.
Just, the roller coasters collapsed or the lions run away or whatever.
But what I love about the film is it acknowledges that Phineas and Ferb came out, at the beginning of the last decade. And so the people that watched it are now older, but they still want that family-friendly, childish humour. But there's a lot of very darker themes to it. So one of them, not darker, but sort of some of the realities. So Candace is really, really upset that she's failed to bust Phineas and Ferb for sort of this umpteenth time. And
104th time.
104th time. And this other character comes along and sort of starts psychoanalyzing why she's trying to bust them. And it's like, do you think it has something to do with your own insecurities and like your own feeling of self-doubt? It's just like, let her do her thing. But also very good that they're just sort of like calling it out, that it's sort of, there is something there, and it's fun to sort of see that happen.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, you know, younger viewers wouldn't quite, you know, get is like such a big deal. But then, yeah, for people who've been watching it for a while, it's like, damn, maybe there is something deeper to why Candace is sort of so keen to bust them. And then
one of the other slightly older jokes as well, which isn't maybe older, but wouldn't really work for much younger viewers, is that Boi is in love with this thing called Space Adventures, which is a full-on riff on Star Trek. Like even down to sort of like the dodgy costumes and the using of like puppets to show the ship flying through space. And it's such a really, really good idea. And I love that whole thing. And it's a really cool adventure, you know, it makes Candace seem very special and important, and it's nice to give her a real sort of time in the spotlight when the show does do some of that, but it is a lot more about Phineas and Ferb, and actually sometimes they are a bit mean to her. So it's nice to see her sort of be winning and on top, and also sort of, spoiler alert, coming together with the brothers in some way, which is nice. But I also like then it focuses on a lot of the good things the show did, which is sort of a focus on the realism of the universe, but also then yada-yadaing over stuff when it's not fun. So the prime example is, I think, probably the single best invention from Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, which is the chicken relocator-inator.
Okay.
You point the chicken relocator-inator at something, and it will replace it with the nearest chicken, and they will swap places. And they use it very early on in the film. A monster attacks this group, and Heinz fires it at the thing, and it swaps places with a chicken. They're on an alien planet, so it swaps place with a chicken on planet Earth, and they send this alien monster to Earth.
Oh, no.
There's a whole other funny bit, but it's worth watching. But then later on, they have the great idea, we need to return home really quickly, so they use the chickeninator on themselves. However, the nearest chicken is no longer on Earth, it's on the planet that they are on.
Because they recently swapped it with the alien thing.
Yeah, and there's a good bit where they're just swapping places with the chicken that's 5 meters away for a good few minutes. To go on like the darker adult humour again, there is eventually a realisation, because Izzy sort of turns to me and says, oh no, they're going to have to kill the chicken. And then almost instantly on the TV, Heinz just looks at the chicken and Vanessa just goes, and you're not killing it. It's just a plan in his voice.
So yeah, it's funny that you do Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz's voice there, because I will admit to not having watched Phineas and Ferb in a while, nor at any point to have watched it religiously. I've watched a few episodes a while ago. The Phineas and Ferb content I most often consume is Dan Povenmire's TikTok account.
Is he Heinz Doofenshmirtz?
The voice actor for Heinz Doofenshmirtz, yes. He does a lot of TikToks.
Very good.
Often in the voice, often reacting to... there's people who have pet platypuses who will, like...
Don fedoras.
Those videos will, like, circle into his feed, and he'll respond to them like, that's not the right platypus, or something. I don't know, I can't do the voice. Where's Perry the platypus? But it's just...
like a high German
Perry the
accent.
platypus? But, like, it's good content. He's been... I think I started watching his videos before Candace versus the Universe, or Candace... What's it called?
Candace Against the Universe.
Candace Against the Universe. Like, before that was announced. And he was saying, like, it's really nice that I get to do Doofenshmirtz. Like, people like hearing me do the Doofenshmirtz voice, and obviously I just don't do it with myself at home. And it's nice that I now have a reason to, like, revisit that character. He did a sort of serious video like, hey guys, it's fun doing TikTok, but also, like, I've genuinely loved doing the Doofenshmirtz character for you guys. And then the film was announced, and he's like, Yeah. I don't know if, like, suddenly his popularity made the film, like, get greenlit more swiftly, but it was nice to see that, like, clearly he'd missed being Doofenshmirtz, and then
He's a good character.
Whether he knew or not, suddenly he was Doofenshmirtz again in Candace Against the Universe.
He got to do it in the sort of the spin-off. It's not really a spin-off series. It's kind of in the same universe.
Milo
Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Doofenshmirtz and Perry appeared in a few episodes of that, I think. But actually, another thing I really liked about Doofenshmirtz, I think he's probably the best character because he's just sort of, he has the right balance of like being evil, but also being really nice and being a mad genius, but also entirely incompetent. So again, back to the chicken relocator, because I mentioned earlier on, they wanted to yada yada over some of the not fun bits. It's not fun that they can't get back to Earth. And so suddenly, like, in the sort of the climax of the film, they are there, and it's just a single line of Doofenshmirtz saying, "Oh, my daughter Vanessa said that there's a switch, and I could change it from nearest to farthest chicken." And it's just
so much could have been avoided.
It's not like destroying. It's not like sort of an improv scene where someone's like destroyed the nature of the universe. Like, it was still a really good bit, but they've acknowledged that, okay, that bit was not fun anymore. It was a good gag, but also we can still stick to the reality of the universe of being like, well, Heinz is a moron.
Yeah.
So let's just have his very competent daughter point out that he can just do this dial. And then actually it becomes the whole like ending of the film. It's a good sort of just throwing in the way you beat the baddie right at the end is the best way to finish anything.
Yeah, we can definitely appreciate that. Just like go through the entire thing, like let's just keep going and see where we end up, and then you find it right at the end.
And I just the show itself is also perfect in this way. It just feels like every single episode is just this neat nugget of entertainment. Has a lot of songs, has a lot of fun, and
the songs are very good.
And there's a lot for just sort of like letting people do what they want to do. It breaks a lot of sort of stereotypes in a way. There are the bully, Buford and Baljeet, the very nerdy kid, do, I think, fall into a few stereotypes, but I think they develop more later on, if I remember correctly. But Isabella, Phineas and Ferb, sort of the brothers, and Isabella as the main other character, really do a lot to break a lot of those things. The Fireside Girls, they do pretty much everything. There is this funny joke how there's always they're trying to earn whatever patch it is, and one of them is like, we're trying to earn our time travel patch, and we're trying to earn our like what was like drag racing patch and all this other stuff. And then also, the guys, they'll do this engineering stuff, but then in the most recent episode, they'll be super into music, and, they ran a fashion show, and it made it cool for people to just enjoy what they enjoy doing. And it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're having fun, which I think is quite a nice message to send out.
Yeah. And to sort of, package that up in a thing that kids are going to, just watch and laugh at, and sort of just pick up these subliminal messages. Not like subliminal, but just like just as they might pick up negative stereotypes from shows that portray negative stereotypes, they'll pick up these like nice breakings of stereotype.
Yeah, and it's such a feel-good show. So if you've got Disney Plus and you want to just enjoy a bit more of life right now, watch Phineas and Ferb, and definitely watch Candace Against the Universe. It is spectacular. The only sad thing about it is they replaced the voice of Phineas, or Ferb even. It sounds very similar, and Ferb doesn't talk much anyway, but it's a different actor, and that upset me.
Wasn't it that, like, baby-looking guy from The Maze Runner at some point? What's his name?
Yeah, from the kid from Love Actually as well. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but...
Yeah, it was that guy. But, like,
it was really cool that he was Ferb. Ferb actually says more than I remember. He says one line per episode, normally.
Exactly one line.
Yeah. I think there's a video on YouTube of all of Ferb's line. All of Ferb's line in Phineas and Ferb.
That's pretty good. I'm going to go watch that later.
I think it's only like a half an hour long, if
that's not
that.
very long.
It's very short. It might even be 20 minutes.
Speaking of how long things are, I think it's time that we decided...
Loki, where are you going with this?
I think it's time we decided how good or bad Phineas and Ferb is.
I want a good.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. I don't think you can beat it.
Yeah, I'd give it a good. I think it's. I can't see any reason not to give it a good. 2 thumbs up.
And with all of that, we've reviewed 3 topics, and so our journey for today is done. So far, we've got I think, including some of the Instagram stuff, we're up to like 10 things reviewed. So I think we're well on our way to reviewing everything.
We're going to get there in the end. Just you watch. If you're listening, if you listen to the last episode, if you listen to this episode, you were there when we reviewed our first 10 topics, and hopefully you'll be with us at the end once we've reviewed all infinity topics that there are to review.
So you do also have to be following our Instagram, because
do follow
that is very
Instagram,
important, because we will put some exclusive reviews on there. I recently reviewed a cow that mooed at me. It was very nice.
Such a good cow.
I loved it. I went by it and I thought, that cow won't want me to take its picture. As I turned away, it mooed, and I could tell that it was just dying for a photo op.
Yeah, once I've worked out how to do all the cool graphic stuff, I'm going to start making Instagram posts too.
I can help you with this. It's really easy.
Thank you, Hambo.
I will call you tomorrow and I will show you.
I'm so busy tomorrow, Hambo. I'm simply so busy.
What day of the week is it? I will call you the next day.
Thursday.
I will call you someday. Call you Thursday. Well, technically today's Wednesday, Wilkie. We've got to remember this. We record this on a Tuesday, but we put it out on a Wednesday.
Today is tomorrow. Okay, well.
And tomorrow is a good day. There's nothing else to say. Thank you to Storyblocks or Story Breaks, or whatever they're called. I bought us a music.
Storyblocks. Storyblocks is the site you got the music from. Story Break is a podcast I listen to.
Storyblocks for the music for this podcast. Thank you to Wilkie for being on the show with me.
Thank you, Hambo. Thank you for having me.
I don't know why. I don't really have you. You co-host this show. It's as much as you could thank me for being on this show.
I didn't know what to say.
And guys, I promised you I'd be better at this. I'm no better at outros. You're just going to have to come back next week.
Yeah, we're going to get better at the outro.
And see if I get it slightly better. I'd say last week was at like a 2 out of 10. This is maybe a 4 out of 10.
Why are we suddenly rating things out of 10? Hambo, we've never rated anything out of 10, and we're not about to start now. Last week was a bad. This week we're approaching a good bad.
Oh, I've just messed up. It's such a long day.
Goodbye. See you next week, everyone.